It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show.
Ain't nobody out here making real music. Ain't nobody wanna put their heart into it. Ain't nobody still speaking from the soul. Ain't nobody wanna see the genre grow.
Step by the capping, niggas yapping on Twitter, that shit boring. Every time a new artist presented, y'all don't support it, ignore it. I speak a language many would think is foreign. The world is facing a deficit, I ain't talking caloric. Division deeper than church and state. I keep it real, y'all gon' send me to the pearly gates. I'm here to reverse the stakes. Tell me how they made Charlie a messiah when there's niggas in my city that's steady facing the fire. Fuck the PC, peace to DC. Let us Chicago, we training like custom model to make a better tomorrow. These niggas don't wanna talk about it, so who we calling conscious? Show me his outline, I piss on the truck around it. Hate speech, probably never get another sync deal. Hate speech, people out in Palestine being killed. Hate speech, I got 50 names that I grew up with. Cold-blooded murder with witnesses, they ain't doing shit. Fuck them all, we gon' fucking ball. Nigga, fuck the law, new world order, what they talking, send them up to God. I got some money in my savings, we can make the bar. Them biggest reason for today, but they can't stay for long.
Ain't nobody out here making real music. Don't nobody wanna put their heart into it. Ain't nobody still speaking from the soul. Don't nobody wanna see the genre grow.
What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well out there this evening. In this video, we're not going to be talking about music and entertainment. We're going to be talking about what's going on in the world right now, because shit is crazy. The world is a fucking ghetto. Song is out now. You can check it out if you'd like. Videos here on YouTube. But we got to talk, all right? Now, y'all know we just covered Don Lemon a couple days ago. There was a lot of backlash coming from the right wing and the Republicans in this country with Don Lemon covering the ICE protest that took place out in Minneapolis, right? On the heels of that happening, Nicki Minaj came out and she issued a statement calling for him to be arrested as well, calling him a thug, all of this different type of stuff. And there's some people out there in the world that think Nicki Minaj had some level of influence about this. I don't believe so. She is a pawn. She's, being used, and she's latching on to whatever that Trump and his MAGA people are up to, whatever their messaging is. She's getting down with it. And of course, she already didn't like him to begin with because he's been critical of her for years, right? So there's no surprise there. We saw Don Lemon clap back and speak back to Nicki Minaj where he ethered her ass. But unfortunately, last night, he was, in fact, arrested by federal agents, okay? And he was arrested simply for covering the protest, interviewing people, being on site, along with other journalists who were out there. And some of the other journalists have been taken in as well. Now, what I'm going to do here is cover this, and we're also going to get into Donald Trump being exposed as a PDF, which we already knew, but now it is officially out there in the Epstein Files. Now, they're trying to cover this up. I believe that the files were released earlier this in the afternoon, but the page is now coming up with redacted filings. So some things are showing up where other things are not. However, it didn't stop people from obtaining screenshots and spreading it on social media. So we're going to get into that as well. Our president is a fucking pedophile. We already knew that he was an SO. He wasn't necessarily registered, but he's spoken openly about sexual harassment and things of that nature. So no surprise there. But again, the world is a fucking ghetto. So what we have here is the official indictment of Don Lemon, okay? So this here says United States District Court, District of Minnesota, United States of America plaintiff versus Nikema Valdez Levy Armstrong, aka Nikema Valdez Levy Pounds. We've got Chantel Louisa Allen William Scott Kelly, aka the Woke Farmer, Don Ronaldo Lemon, Jamel Lydell Lundy, Traherne Jean Cruz, and Georgia Elise Fort, and the ninth person is redacted. The fifth and the ninth person are redacted. Why? I do not know. And all of them, I believe, are journalists or independent media. So the grand jury charges that introductory allegations at all times relevant to this indictment, the city's church is a Christian house of worship located in St. Paul, Minnesota. On the morning of Sunday, January 18, 2026, at approximately 10:30 a.m., the church's pastor was leading the congregation in a liturgical service. In that service, the church's pastor and congregation were then exercising and seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship, a right that is also protected by a federal statute codified at Title 18, United States Code, Section 248. After the service commenced, a group of approximately 20 to 40 agitators, as they called them, including all of the defendants named in this indictment, entered the church in a coordinated takeover-style attack and engaged in acts of oppression, intimidation, threats, interference, and physical obstruction alleged herein. As a result of defendants' conduct, the pastor and congregation were forced to terminate the church's worship service. Congregants fled the church building out of fear for their safety. Other congregants took steps to implement an emergency plan, and young children were left to wonder, as one child put it, if their parents were going to die. Feared for y'all life? Count 1. Against all defendants. Conspiracy against right of religious freedom at place of worship. The allegations set forth above in paragraphs 1 through 4 of this indictment are realleged and incorporated herein by reference. A. Object of the conspiracy. Beginning on an unknown date and continuing to on or about January 18, 2026, in the state and district of Minnesota, defendants Nikema Valdez, Levy Armstrong, etc. They say they conspired and agreed with one another and with other persons known and unknown to the grand jury to injure, oppress, threaten, and intimidate multiple persons, including the clergy, staff, and congregants of the city's church, in the free exercise and enjoyment of the rights and privileges secured to them by the laws of the United States, and because of such persons having to exercise such right, namely, exercise of the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship as secured by Title 18, United States Code, Section 248C, all in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 241. Okay? So the U.S. government is claiming that they conspired with one another and agreed that they were going to injure, oppress, threaten, and intimidate the people in the church when they were not even active participants in the actual protest. They were literally there to cover the situation as journalists. It's interesting that they tout around freedom of speech, but then overlook the freedom of the press, which is also constitutional. I mean, we learned that in school, even those of us who wasn't paying attention. B, manner and means. In order to achieve the object of the conspiracy, defendants Armstrong and Allen, together with other persons unknown to the grand jury, organized the operation targeting the church, which they dubbed Operation Pull Up, and promoted it on the internet via Instagram accounts. I don't understand how you could put the journalists in here with the people who organized the protest. That doesn't make any sense. All defendants met at a shopping center for a pre-op briefing during which Armstrong and Allen advised other co-conspirators, including defendants Kelly, Lemon, Lundy, Cruz, Fort, and Blank, about the target of their operation, i.e. city's church, and provided instruction on how the operation would be conducted once they arrived at the church. Once at the church, all of the defendants entered the church to conduct a takeover-style attack and engaged in various acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. That don't make sense to me. How am I conspiring with somebody if I happen to be covering the situation as an independent journalist just to show what's going on the ground in one of the states in this country? So are y'all gonna arrest major news personalities for going out from CNN, Fox News, and etc. if they happen to cover an ICE protest, or if they happen to be covering illegal acts being committed by ICE? Are they also going to be arrested? Or are you attacking them because they don't have major network backing? They say, see overt acts. In furtherance of the conspiracy and to accomplish the object thereof, defendants Armstrong, Allen, Kelly, Lemon, Lundy, Cruz, Fort, and Blank, together with other persons known and unknown to the grand jury, committed various overt acts, including but not limited to the following. Overt act number 1. On or about January 17, 2026, defendant Armstrong posted a flyer on 2 Instagram accounts controlled by her, at Nakimo and at Racial Justice MN, advertising an anti-ICE action dubbed Operation Pull Up. I don't see how being anti-ICE is illegal, but we'll continue. Telling fellow agitators where to meet to prepare for the operation and exhorting them to be ready to mobilize. Again, I don't recall protests being illegal. Overt act number 2. On or about January 17th, defendant Allen posted a similar flyer on her personal Instagram account, Chantel. Overt act number 3. On the morning of January 18th, 2026, all of the named defendants gathered with approximately 20-30 co-conspirators for a pre-operation briefing filed by defendants Armstrong and Allen at the parking lot of Cub Foods. Overt act number 4. At the pre-operation briefing, defendants Armstrong and Allen advised other co-conspirators, including defendants Kelly, Lemon, etc. All right, man. Come on. Y'all just repeating the same old shit. And then where's the offense at? What law did they break? Overt act number 5. On the morning of January 18th, 2026, defendant Lemon began live streaming on his internet-based show, The Don Lemon Show, where he explained to his audience that he was in Minnesota with an organization that was gearing up for a resistance operation against the federal government's immigration policies, and he took steps to maintain operational secrecy by reminding certain co-conspirators to not disclose the target of the operation, and stepped away momentarily so his mic would not accidentally divulge certain portions of the planning session. Okay. All of that being stated, I still don't understand where they broke the law. Overt act number 6. During a discussion with defendant Armstrong at the pre-op briefing, a defendant Lemon thanked defendant Armstrong for what she was doing and assured her that he was not saying what's going on, i.e., was not disclosing the target of the operation. B, defendant Armstrong explained that Operation Pull Up was a clandestine operation in which she and other agitators would show up somewhere that is a key location where the targets don't expect us, and we disrupt business as usual. That's what we're about to go do right now. And C, defendant Lemon said he would see her there. Now, I believe the premise of this protest was because it was believed that the pastor at the church was an employee of ICE, a high-ranking member of ICE. I believe it was revealed that he wasn't the pastor, but the assistant pastor, but the rest was pretty much correct, right? And we know what ICE has been doing, the havoc they've been wreaking in our country. Overt act number 7. Before heading to the church to join his co-conspirators, defendant Lemon advised his live stream audience that we're going to head to the operation. Again, we're not going to give any of the information away, i.e. operational details that would disclose where he and his co-conspirators were heading. Overt act number 8. At the pre-op briefing, defendant Allen A. led other co-conspirators in chants that they would use at the church, including "This is what community looks like" and "ICE out of Minnesota." B. urged her co-conspirators that they have a duty to fight for our freedom and a duty to win. And C, as the group prepared to head toward the church, directed her co-conspirators to stay bumper to bumper, make sure everybody gets through the light, and confirm that everyone had the address. This is a weak-ass indictment, people. This shit ain't going nowhere. Or at least I would hope not. Overt act number 9. At the pre-op briefing, defendant Armstrong provided instruction and operational guidance to her co-conspirators, including the following. A. The first wave of agitators should enter the church essentially in an undercover capacity and position themselves around the church sanctuary. B. They should not sit together and should not wear anything that is activist identifying. And C. Those who had anything activism identifying should wait and come in with the second wave. Overt act number 10. Continuing on the morning of January 18, 2026, all of the defendants got in vehicles and traveled with their co-conspirators to the church to engage in the planned takeover style operation. Overt act number 11. While en route to the church, defendant Blank told defendant Lemon that they had to catch up to the others, and defendant Lemon replied, "Let's go, catch up." And because he was still live streaming, Lemon instructed Blank and an unidentified male, don't give anything away, i.e., don't divulge information about the operation, and advise his audience. We can't say too much. We don't want to give it up. Overt act number 12. Continuing on the morning of January 18, 2026, all of the defendants, together with other co-conspirators, entered the church sanctuary, with the first wave positioning themselves among the congregants and the second wave led by defendants Armstrong and Allen commencing the disruptive takeover operation, in which the first wave of agitators then actively joined. Overt act number 13. Bitch, we 13 acts in, and this shit ain't reached a climax yet. As the pastor was beginning his sermon, defendant Armstrong interrupted the service with loud declarations about the church harboring a director of ICE and indicating that the time for judgment had come. And other co-conspirators immediately joined in by yelling and blowing whistles in a takeover attack on the church, all of which quickly caused the situation in the church to become chaotic, menacing, and traumatizing to church members. But I don't recall anyone being hurt, threatened, or intimidated. Overt act number 14. While inside the church, defendants Armstrong, Allen, Kelly, Lundy, Cruz, and others led and or joined with their co-conspirators in various chants, including "ICE out," "hands up, don't shoot," and "stand up, fight back," while gesturing in an aggressive and hostile manner, which congregants and the pastor perceived as threats of violence, they say, and a potential prelude to a mass shooting. Boy, get the fuck out of here. Overt act number 15. While inside the church, defendants Armstrong, Allen, Kelly, Lemon, Lundy, Cruz, Fort, and Blank oppressed, threatened, and intimidated the church congregants and pastors by physically occupying most of the main aisle and rows of chairs near the front of the church, engaging in menacing and threatening behavior, for some chanting and yelling loudly at the pastor and congregants, and or physically obstructing them as they attempted to exit and or move about within the church. Overt act number 16. While inside the church, defendant Blank stood with other agitators in and around the main aisles in the church to intimidate the church members and obstruct and interfere with their freedom of movement, approached the pastor and congregants in a menacing manner, and near the end of the operation loudly berated the pastor with questions about Christian nationalism and Christians wanting to have their faith be the law of the land. Overt act number 17. While inside the church, defendant Lundy personally participated in the disruptive takeover operations with other defendants by standing in the main aisle with the others and contributing to the physical obstruction and intimidation of the congregants, participating loudly in some of the chants. One saying that the targeted ICE agent must be out, and punching his fist in the air as if that physically hurt anyone. Overt act number 18. While inside the church, defendant Cruz personally participated in the disruptive takeover operation with other defendants by standing in and around the main aisle with the others and contributing to the physical obstruction and intimidation of the congregants, participating in some of the chants. This is bullshit. Overt act number 19. While inside the church, defendant Kelly A. disrupted the service by chanting, "This ain't God's house. This is the house of the devil." B. Approached one female congregant who was with two young children and demanded to know in a hostile manner why she was not involved in and supportive of the takeover operation. Takeover operation is crazy. And screamed, "Nazi," in congregants' faces and asked child congregants, "Do you know your parents are Nazis? They're going to burn in hell." Who said that? Y'all seen that on the camera? I ain't watch it. But did you seen that? Overt act number 20. Defendant Lemon told his live stream audience about congregants leaving the church and about a young man who Lemon could see was frightened, scared, and crying, and Lemon observed that the congregants' reactions were understandable because the experience was traumatic and uncomfortable, which he said was the purpose. Traumatic and uncomfortable. Overt act number 21. As the operation continued, defendant Lemon acknowledged the nature of it by expressing surprise that the police hadn't yet arrived at the church and admitting knowing that the whole point of the operation is to disrupt. I mean, protest is disruptive. It's to get your attention off of other things and onto the attention of the protest, of the injustice of which they're standing up for. Overt act number 22. While the takeover operation was underway, defendant Lemon asked defendant Armstrong, "Who is the person that we should talk to? Is there a pastor or something?" And she pointed toward the front of the church, but noted the pastor might have run away. Overt act number 23. This shit long and not strong. Pause. With other co-conspirators standing nearby, defendants Lemon and Fort approached the pastor and largely surrounded him to his front and both sides, stood in close proximity to the pastor in an attempt to oppress and intimidate him, and physically obstructed his freedom of movement while Lemon peppered him with questions. Lemon peppered him? But are y'all, this shit is a joke enough. You gonna say Lemon peppered him with questions? He didn't pepper spray him, he peppered him with questions. Lemon pepper. Man, fuck out of here. Overt act number 24. Pardon me, I have to make light of these things sometimes. While talking with the pastor, defendant Lemon stood so close to the pastor that Lemon caused the pastor's right hand to graze Lemon, who then admonished the pastor, "Please don't push me." Yeah, that's when things was getting real serious. Real serious. Like fucking Napoleon Dynamite. Overt act number 25. Although the pastor told defendant Lemon and the others to leave the church, defendant Lemon and the other defendants ignored the pastor's request and did not immediately leave the church. Overt act number 26. After causing most of the congregants to flee, some of the defendants and other agitators engaged in chant proclaiming, "Who shut this down? Who shut this down?" Overt act number 27. As one congregant reported to responding police officers, some of the agitators blocked the stairs leading to the church's child care area and made it difficult and hazardous for parents to retrieve their children, causing some to take alternative routes in or around the church. Number 28. At one point, defendant Lemon posted himself at the main door of the church, where he confronted some congregants and physically obstructed them as they tried to exit the church building and challenged them with facts about U.S. immigration policy. Overt act number 29. As a minivan full of children was preparing to depart from the church, defendant Kelly walked in front of the minivan and angrily yelled at the occupants, and defendants Armstrong and Fort stood in front of the minivan while Fort interviewed Armstrong. Count two. We just now getting a count two. Good God. Injure, intimidate. Who did they injure? Now I can understand if the children were afraid. I can even see if some of the adults were, overwhelmed, dealing with feeling anxious. But come on, man. The allegations set forth above, in paragraphs 1 through 8 of this indictment are realleged and incorporated hereby in reference. Oh boy. Each aiding and abetting one another, and together with the other persons known and unknown to the grand jury by use of force, threat of force, and physical obstruction. There was no use or threat of force. Intentionally injured, who was injured, intimidated, and interfered with, and attempted to injure, intimidate, oh my goodness, and interfere with multiple persons, including the church congregants, clergy, and staff, who were then lawfully exercising and seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship, which conduct, resulted in bodily injury to one of the congregants. So one person might have gotten injured. All in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Sections 248A2, B, and 2A. And it was Attorney General Pamela Bondi who set this into motion. Okay? Now, alongside Don Lemon, of course, in the indictment, we also saw Georgia Fort's name. This is Georgia Fort. And just moments before she was taken and arrested, she actually spoke on it.
As a member of the press, I filmed the church protest a few weeks ago, and now I'm being arrested for that. It's hard to understand how we have a constitution, constitutional rights, when you can just be arrested for being a member of the press.
All right. And it says here, trusted journalist Georgia Fort, arrested for doing her job. Award-winning journalist has been arrested for reporting on the pop-up protest at City's Church in St. Paul. Okay. And these are the journalists who have been arrested. We see all Black people. All right. Don Lemon, Treherne Cruz, Jamel Liddell Lundy, and Georgia Fort. All Black journalists who covered this protest. They are now being indicted and charged with obstruction of justice, violating the constitutional right of religious practice, and claiming that they had the intention of intimidating and physically injuring the congregants in the church. Here we have Attorney General Pam Bondi coming out and taking credit for this. She says, at my direction early this morning, federal agents arrested Don Lemon, Treherne Cruz, Georgia Fort, and Jamel Liddell Lundy in connection with the coordinated attack, as she puts it, on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. Okay? So on one hand, it's being called coverage of protest, but from the Attorney General, she calls it a coordinated attack. Now, moving into the Epstein Files that have been released on Donald Trump, and they claim that he has over 13,000 mentions in these files, all right? And we're just going to read a couple. So up top, we see mention of Ghislaine Maxwell, Donald Trump, John Nichols, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Cheryl Renee Duke. All right, I don't know if I'm freezing on y'all over here, but I shouldn't be. So up top, it says complainant reported his ex-girlfriend blank were victims of Epstein's and one was murdered. While working as a limousine driver, complainant recalled picking up Donald Trump in 1995 to take him to Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. During that ride, complainant recalled some of the things Trump spoke about on his cell phone were very concerning and described being a few seconds from pulling a limousine over on the median and within a few seconds of pulling him out of the car and hurting him due to some of the things he was saying. Complainant noted Trump repeatedly stated the name Jeffrey while on the phone. One of the complainant's ex-girlfriends, Blank, told complainant Trump raped her, as did Epstein. In the next one, it says, caller is talking about crimes committed against her. She claims to be a prisoner. She references Lisa Marie Presley, the British royal family, President Trump, and Jeffrey Epstein. We've got another complainant. This is just Epstein. So the stuff highlighted in yellow is related to Trump. Complainant following up after a call with NYPD officer regarding her previous tip, reporting that she was forced to perform sexual acts when she was 13 years old and pregnant in 1984. Disgusting. Complainant also reported that there were high-profile individuals involved in her as trafficking and the murder and disposal of her newborn daughter. What the F? Complainant reported Donald Trump participated regularly in paying money to force her to perform sex acts with him and alleged Trump was present when her uncle murdered her newborn child. There's more. Caller was taken by boat to Epstein Island. Caller said it was complicated and involved Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Caller became a school counselor and had a meeting with the school principal, Linda Kitts, and a police officer where the caller was informed there were pictures of herself with Epstein. Caller reported the school was mad at her for not being a Trump person and that the school wanted her to testify and say things against Andrew Cuomo. That gotta be pretty rude. Kind of, what? Damn. The FBI and Donald Trump were on the phone during the meeting. Caller believes the FBI has baby pictures of her with Epstein. Shit. I'm freezing like a motherfucker too. Another one. Caller reported that in 1987, a friend, Victim 1, was out drinking and ended up at Trump Plaza. Victim 1 saw Donald Trump and wanted to meet him. An unknown man approached her and offered to introduce her to Trump. The unknown man gave Victim 1 a drink, and Victim 1 woke up naked and sore with $300 on the bed. Come on, man. Victim 1 didn't remember how she got to the room. She remembered seeing a flash of Trump's face. Victim 1 called the caller and told her she thought she had been blanked. Victim 1 did not go to a hospital to have a kit performed because she didn't think anyone would believe her, especially because she was drunk. Victim 1's husband's business had problems with suppliers, and Victim 1 believed Trump was behind it. Victim 1 also started dating a lawyer, identifiers unknown, who was married. Victim 1 had a fight with her lawyer boyfriend and went to a bar. Victim 1 left a bar with a man who no one in the bar recognized, but who seemed familiar with Victim 1. Victim 1 was never seen again. A few years ago, remains were discovered that matched the description of what Victim 1 was wearing when she went missing. DNA tests at the time were inconclusive. So, this victim here in 1987 was alleging that she was raped by Donald Trump and left $300. She eventually ended up breaking up with who she was with at the time. She began to date someone else. She went to a bar and she was basically abducted and never seen again. Years later, they found remains that match her description. And this the motherfucking president of our country. This the motherfucker that's leading us to ruin for the second time. Don't know how motherfuckers could ever have thought that he was a good candidate the first time. Seems the second time was stolen, and the government and everyone just allowed it to happen. Ain't shit happening. And this place is going up in fucking flames. Shit is embarrassing, man. And then we got people sucking up to this nigga. You know what I'm saying? You got the Nicki Minaj's of the world, the NBA Youngboys of the world, the Sexy Reds of the world, and so many others in media, in so many other professions. I just named a couple entertainers. So many fucking companies and corporations that are going along with the shit. They acting like they're being intimidated, and maybe they are, but fuck that shit, man. It ain't gonna be too. If shit continues in the direction that it's going, this is gonna be a damn dictatorship. They got audio of this nigga saying basically that's what he wants anyway. He said when he speak, he want people to sit upright and listen to him. I'm not a huge political person, but I just felt like, yo, this needed to be covered, need to be spoken on. It's no way that I could see this stuff going on the way that it's transpiring and just come laugh and joke and smile and talk about rap music and shit. And really, I don't have no solutions. You know, the best thing I could do is just tell my audience, those of y'all that are watching, to just remain vigilant. Be safe out there, man. Protect your family, protect your kids at all costs. Gotta continue to persist. You know? ICE is coming out. I mean, they've been in Atlanta recently, moving around. I haven't really seen a lot in terms of like them coming in my area. But I've also seen protests that are happening out here. They, you know, niggas is not happy about that shit. And it's causing unrest because you don't know what the fuck is gonna happen. You know, people getting snatched out of their homes. People are being snatched out of their vehicles on fluke-ass traffic stops, and then they got your ass. We've seen instances where people have been murdered in cold blood on camera. No consequences. This shit crazy. And I don't think it's gonna get no better until some of these motherfuckers end up finding their ass in the dirt, honestly. And this shit gonna they just gonna double and triple down on occupancy. So this shit's sad. I never imagined that this would be the world that I would live in when I was a little kid. But I send thoughts, I send prayers, I send encouragement to everybody, to everyone who may be affected, loved ones. And that's really all I got for y'all, man. I ain't gonna stay on this shit too long. But I did feel like I should at least use my platform to speak on what's happening. All right? Let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, become an insider. We'll get back to the music and all that other stuff tomorrow. So I'll see y'all. Have a good weekend. Peace.
Yeah, family over fame in this bitch, yeah. The glory of living righteous is setting in. My street knowledge and education's a perfect blend. Young mogul, independent, I've been setting trends. The first one from my family to be faithfully wed. Fuck niggas and the horses that they riding on. I see this shit from all angles like a polygon. I'm never politicking, the drama be piling on. Father and greats unacknowledged like I'm Bobby Bonds. Conversation with my lady about the paper route. 5 sit bank accounts, every day I make it count. They down talking my commentary for hating now. Well, I can take it cause I'm bodying your favorite now, please. I could do this shit in my sleep. I been writing for these niggas, y'all read it and weep. I been fighting these niggas if you speak on the street. I'll turn your birthday party into New Year's Eve. Don't let me take it there. We ain't playing fair. This the ATL, Southside nigga moving furniture like Wayfair. Life on hold, no insurance for your health care. Lifeline gone, so you wanna be a millionaire? Well, let me tell you about this world I built. The women I dodged, the niggas that I ran for filth. The sympathy calls, consulting for the stacks I built. I had to